Today we are going to be looking at the Ghost 16 and the Ghost Max. Now I've reviewed both of these shoes individually before on the channel, but in today's video we're going to compare, contrast, and I will reveal which of these shoes is my favourite and why. But you're not just going to get my thoughts, because I've teamed up with Aubrey from the YouTube channel Aubrey Running. He's going to share his thoughts because he's also run in both of these shoes before. Now, little disclaimer before we start, both of these shoes were sent to me by Brooks for the purpose of doing a review, but they don't get to hear or say anything that I say, and what you will get from me are my honest thoughts, having done a reasonable amount of distance in both of these shoes. But how much distance have I done so far in these shoes? Well, the Ghost Max, I've now clocked up 200 miles, which is about 320 kilometers. And in the Ghost 16, it's exactly half of that. So I've done 100 miles or around 160 kilometers. And whilst these shoes share their same name or part of their name, in my thoughts, they're very different shoes. And I'll explain why in the course of this video. Let's start our comparison by considering the midsole, because the midsole foam between these two shoes is quite different. In the Ghost Max, they're using DNA Loft V2, and in the Ghost 16, it's using DNA Loft V3. Now, the DNA Loft V3 is nitrogen infused. That's the key difference. That means that it's going to keep the overall weight of the shoe lower, but also it's going to make it a little bit more responsive as well. The other key difference with the midsole foams is that, as the name would suggest, the Ghost Max is a max cushion shoe. That means you get more midsole foam. Now you're getting that mainly in the forefoot area. And in terms of stack height, you've got 39mm in the heel and 33mm in the forefoot area, giving you a drop of 6mm. In the Ghost 16, you've got 36mm in the heel, 24mm in the forefoot, giving you a drop of 12mm. That's quite different, and what I would say is generally I just prefer a sort of 6mm, 8mm drop in my running shoes. But having run 100 miles now in the Ghost 16, I don't notice that it's got that rather quite high drop of 12mm. It doesn't really feel like that when I'm running in it, but just something to be aware of. The other thing, as I mentioned, is because it's nitrogen infused, it helps to keep the weight of the shoe down. In my UK size 11, the Ghost Max weighs 344 grams, but the Ghost 16 is only 308 grams. That's a 36 gram difference between the two shoes. Another thing to note is that the Ghost Max feels like it has a wider base, and having measured it, it does, particularly around the midfoot and the heel of the shoe. That's going to give you a bit more support on the landing, but it makes the shoe a little bit less nimble than the Ghost 16. If I was going to say what was the area of the shoe that was most similar between these two models, it has to be the upper. They've both got a nicely well-designed engineered mesh upper with some ventilation slits above your toes, that area of the shoe, giving some breathability. Nice plush tongue for comfort, lacing system that locks your foot in well, and around the back of the shoe, both of these shoes have a solid internal heel counter, giving you support for your foot when you are running in the shoe. As I mentioned, the Ghost 16 I run 100 miles in, and if you look at the outer, it's holding up really well. There's just minimal wear on that outer after 100 miles. However, take a look at the Ghost Max. Now the Ghost Max has a lot more wear. Yes, it's done twice the distance, done 200 miles, but I can tell you that this started to degrade before 100 miles. It's worn a lot more, and you can see the rubber now is wearing down, and the exposed midsole foam is starting to wear there as well. Given that this is a max cushion shoe, that you're going to be knocking up some long miles in it, I would have expected the rubber on the shoe to hold up a lot better than it has. It's the one area of the shoe that I think lets itself down a bit, which I hope they address in the next version. How do these shoes compare in terms of price? Well, the Ghost Max is a little bit more expensive than the Ghost 16, coming in at £140 here in the UK. That's 150 US dollars or 160 euros. And the Ghost 16 is £135, $140 or 150 euros. But what I would say is the Ghost Max, having been out longer, you now can find it with some good bargains. I saw it on some websites at just over £100. Now, before I give you my verdict of these shoes, I thought it would be useful to get the opinions of another running YouTuber. His name is Aubrey from the YouTube channel Aubrey Running. Now, he's not a really fast runner. He's training for his first marathon and he has run in both of these shoes before. So with that said, over to you, Aubrey.
Okay, so context. I recently did a video and I want to make a very controversial statement that I don't think they are bad shoes. I just think shoes are either suited to someone or they're not. So, Ghost 16, Ghost Max. You can't deny the legacy of the Ghost series. You go to Parkrun, it's almost as if Parkrun have established a rule. You can't take part in Parkrun unless you've got a Ghost shoe. That's how popular they are. Anyway, 16 versus Ghost Max. The 16, I almost see it like an iPhone. It just works. You put it on, you just go, done. That's if you're not trying to think of the specifics. The specifics being return of energy, cushioning, comfort, all these kind of things. So I think Brooks have been very, very intentional in splitting these two shoes apart, because what you don't get in the Ghost 16, you get in the Max. So, long run, recovery run, easy run, Ghost Max. It's in the name. Max stack, max cushion by those guys. The only criticism I have, I wish the Ghost Max had DNA Loft V3, which is the midsole they've updated from Ghost 15 to Ghost 16. If you get DNA Loft V3 at the stack height where the Ghost Max is, that shoe is going to be heaven, at least for me. The Ghost 16 is going to be your steady run. If you even want to do speed work, depending on what kind of paces you run, that would be my recommendation. If you were to only buy one shoe between the two, me personally, Chris, I'm going with the Ghost Max.
So there you go, that is what Aubrey thinks of these shoes. And if you're not familiar with Aubrey's channel, I'll put links to it. Do go and check out the content he's making. And yeah, once again, thanks Aubrey for sharing your thoughts. But what do I think about these shoes? Well, I've got to say, I've enjoyed running in both of them. When the Ghost Max came out, I was using that. And in terms of where I was with my running, I wasn't running consistently. My fitness had dropped a lot. And the Ghost Max was an ideal shoe when I was just trying to get out there and trying to become more consistent and a little bit fitter. Then when the Ghost 16 came out and I'd already built up some fitness, introducing that into my shoe rotation, again, just a shoe that I've enjoyed running in really. And if I'm going to say one other thing, which is not scientifically proven or anything, but as these shoes have gone into my shoe rotation, I've felt a lot less fatigue in my legs when I've been out running, particularly on the longer type of runs. Whereas before, I would definitely feel it after the runs. My legs are responding particularly well, and that fatigue that I was used to, it's just not there anymore. Now that is not necessarily all down to the shoes, but I certainly think the shoes have got something to do with it. Now it won't be long until the Ghost Max 2 is released, and I'm hoping for two things when that happens. And I know that one of them is going to happen because I've seen the specs. So the Ghost Max 2 is going to have that DNA Loft V3, the nitrogen infused midsole that the Ghost 16 already has. That I think is going to be a bit of a game changer for that shoe. But I'm also hoping that they sort out the wear on the rubber of when they bring out the Ghost Max 2. We will see, we will put the miles into that shoe and we will see and give it a good test. But there you go, guys. I hope you found this review useful and that the comparison between these two shoes may have helped you decide in terms of which one you might want to purchase. If you're already running either of these shoes or both of them, do share your thoughts in the video below so that all the viewers get to hear that. But for now, guys, goodbye.